Hey, everybody, Ron here, and I want to say welcome to My Daily Bread, the podcast. I am flying solo today, but excited to share with you 6 disciplines of self leadership, how to ignite and sustain transformation in our lives. But before I get into today's content, I wanted to share with you that if you're watching us on YouTube, do us a favor and click on the subscribe button so that you can get aware of all of the moments that we release new content, usually every Wednesday, new content pushing out to all of our podcast platforms. In today's podcast, I want to share with you these 6 disciplines of self leadership that I teach in our Impact Shift sessions and that I use in my day to day life, sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously. But these are 6 principles that I believe will help you in the process of transformation. The first one is this, it's discipline number 1, and that is self awareness. Self awareness is, a big topic around our culture right now, especially our church culture, around our, motivational moments culture, coaching culture. This is a word that comes up a lot, and rightfully so. Self awareness is having an understanding of how we are experiencing life and how others are experiencing us. If you're anything like I am, you're probably thinking to yourself, I've never thought about specifically asking myself the question, how am I experiencing life and how are others experiencing me? So I want you to think about that for a minute. How are you experiencing life right now? Are you living your dream? Are you doing the Dave Ramsey thing and I'm living the dream? Are you completely aware of what your goals and your dreams and your desires are for your life? And how are others experiencing you? Maybe you're not aware of your life. And chances are, if you're not aware of your life, others may not be experiencing you like you think they are. There are 4 elements of self-awareness. I'll share them right now, and they include knowing who we are. And I love this one for the idea of how many of us have froze in the moment when we are asked to write a description of our lives. Let's say you're going for a job interview and the person that's interviewing you asks the question, hey, who are you? What are your strengths? Do you know what your strengths are? Are you really connected to what your weaknesses are in your life? I think about this often as a pastor. I'm always assessing myself like, yeah, I'm really strong in this area of ministry, but man, this area of ministry, I could see some need for polishing, or this area of my life, I could see that I'm not really strong at. There are moments when, just real transparently, I'm really great with my nutrition and I can attack eating right for the longest time. And then all of a sudden, that chocolate cake will show up, right? And I find myself drawn to my weakness anytime that comes around. So having self-awareness is knowing who we are, what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. What about your passions? Do you know what you're passionate about? Um, I've I've thought about this so much, and really, your passions are obvious. And if you have to guess what your passions are, I would almost challenge that maybe that thing you think you're passionate about isn't something you really are. I will tell you, and people around me can tell you, that my passions are church ministry. I love to help build the church. I love to connect the church. I love to minister at the church. I love to be involved in getting others to come around and be involved in true Christ-led ministry. So that's a passion of mine. Do you know what your purpose is? If you don't know what your purpose is, chances are you're going to end up living for someone else's purpose for your life. So self-awareness includes being very aware how well you know yourself in your purpose and in your destiny. Another element of self-awareness is the ability to calm our hearts and our minds. How good are you at being able to stay strong and steady when the winds of change blow? How good are you at being able to be steadfast and secure when everything around you is changing? Being very self aware in that area of our lives is a strength that has to be cultivated. We don't come automatically programmed to be strong in those moments. It's something that we have to set intentionally in our lives. The next one is the ability to remain emotionally grounded and learning. I like this one, learning how to experience purposeful endurance. Those are the four elements of self awareness. So, again, I'm going to repeat those because I think they bear repeating. Number one is this: knowing who we are. What are your strengths, your weaknesses, your passions, your purpose, and your destiny? Number two, the ability to calm our hearts and minds. Number three, the ability to remain emotionally grounded. And number four, learning how to experience purposeful endurance. I really like that one because oftentimes we get in trouble in our lives when we know that there's something that we want, but we are not willing to do the work in order to get it. And one of the examples I have of that is, are you a person that lives on credit cards? And your vice in life is shopping, right? You don't really have the money to be shopping, but you go out shopping and you find that one thing that you want. Maybe ladies, maybe it's that new dress that's way more than you can afford, and you just have this attitude like, I'm going to charge it, right? And I'll pay for it someday. I'll pay for it later on down the road. But having purposeful endurance says this. It says, I know what I want, and I'm willing to wait till I can pay for that item before I get it so that I'm not going in debt for that. Experiencing purposeful endurance. I hope that makes sense to you. Discipline number two is this. It's discernment. Discernment is the ability to see the unseen. And those of us who have grown up in religious environments, have grown up in the church, we are really good at being self-appointed experts at discerning others. But how well are we able to discern our own attitudes? How well are we able to discern our own emotional state in life? How well are we at discerning our character, our behaviors, and all of those things? Cultivating this discipline allows us to pause and to consider not only our experience, but it helps us to consider our character, our behaviors, before we engage in behaviors and thought patterns that potentially become self-destructive or drive us away from our purpose. So having this discipline of discernment in our life is a constant assessment. Many of you remember then that when some of our teachers would teach us about the prayer of examen, right? Or the prayer of examine. This is kind of that discipline in practice. We are constantly assessing our life. At the end of the day, we look back over the day and think to ourselves, this went really well, or, I could have done this a little bit differently. In fact, one of the things that Pastor Brian, my pastor, taught me was when he would come and teach me in life or discipline or bring some discipline structure to my life, he would say, if you had that to do over, how would you do that differently? That is, in a way, discernment acting in your life. Being discerning of our own hearts. Hey, I'm experiencing this inside. I wonder what that's about. Maybe I should look at that some more. So that's principle or discipline number two. Discipline number three is this: conviction. And I heard Pastor Brian preach this quite a bit during his ministry when he was pastor at the River of Life. Discipline number three is conviction. It's this. We've heard the word said, we've heard the phrase, what you don't know can't hurt you. And the reality is that what you don't know can kill you. What do you believe? And why do you believe it? And can you defend it? Conviction is one of the most powerful gifts that we can operate in our lives. It's one of the most powerful disciplines because there is nothing wrong with standing on a principle. There's nothing wrong with having a conviction for your life. Identifying and living by personal and clear convictions will strengthen our personal growth and transformation process. If you, I remember a pastor used to say this, that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So have a conviction in your life. You really want transformation in the process of transformation to move in your life and to really grow and transform in your life, then have some convictions. Have something that you really believe in. Have something that you really, really stand for and live by that. And you will gain more respect and more honor from others if they see that you are a person of principle and a person of conviction than if you're just a person who will move under any direction of the wind in life. So that's number 3. Number 4 is this. And this is one that is not real popular among our Christian circles. It's accountability. When we're truly committed to transformation in our lives, accountability cannot be ignored. In an age where everyone seemingly strives to be their own free agent, only those with proper accountability will go on to achieve the goal that they have in mind for their lives. Accountability, leaves the door open for encouragement and correction. And I'm so thankful that I have a tribe of people that I have accountability to in my life and in my ministry and in my business. And I constantly am checking in to see, hey, I could really use some encouragement in this area, or hey, I could really use some instruction and some insight on how to navigate this. And being able to have those relationships around you that you can be transparent. Now, if you have someone around you that you can't trust, or somebody around you that you're not so sure that you should be sharing some things with, then I would say you should not be accountable to them. If you can't trust them, you should not open your heart to being accountable to them. Only surround yourselves when it comes to accountability with those that you can trust to not just be yes people in your life, but to speak into you and say to you, you know what? You need to fix this. Pastor Brian used to read a book. He had this one book, I think it's called 11, and it was about the 11 essential relationships that everybody needs. And one of those relationships is called the editor. Who do you have in your life that can come in and say, you know what? I don't think you say that appropriately, or I think you need to fix this in your life. How many of us have editors? I have an editor. I have a couple of editors, and they have the ability, they have an open door to come in and speak to me and say, you know what, you need to do this, or you need to probably change this, or you're doing this really well, and I think that this could go a different direction. So having accountability in your life, that's number 4. Here's number 5, communication. And I wrote in this document, in fact, if you want a copy of these 6 disciplines, I'd love to send it to you. All you have to do is in the message, in the comments, in the chat, leave me your email address and I will send you a copy of these 6 disciplines of self-leadership. All right. So number 5 is this: communication. The most understated element of communication is listening. How would our lives be different if we practice listening to our inner voice? How would our lives be different if we practice listening to our inner voice? I wrote in this document that there's a concept that I learned in child development training that says every negative behavior is an expression of a need. And if I take the time to listen to my negative behaviors, what needs are they revealing in my life? You've heard me say this over and over. Sometimes we pull this out in our My Daily Bread morning sessions. The negative behaviors that I am currently experiencing in life, what are they telling me about what I need? And when you are dealing with others, when you are a leader of a group or a leader of a people or a leader of a church or a leader of a business, being really, really good at identifying what the need is in someone's life will help us to change the behavior that we're experiencing either from ourselves or from them. So, listening to our inner voice, listening to our behaviors, and watching really close at what they are telling us will help us to change the behavior that we are exhibiting or the behavior that we are experiencing. And then finally, there's discipline number 6. It's vision. And this comes from one of my favorite proverbs. In Proverbs 29:18, the scripture says this: where there is no vision, the people dwell carelessly. In fact, one version says that the people run wild. If self leadership and transformation are the goal for your life right now, you have to have a plan to get there. And what does the life look like that you want to have? What's the vision for it? When is the last time you actually sat down and wrote out the plan for your life, wrote out the vision for your next 12 months of existence, your next 24 months, 36 months, the next 5 years of your life? Have you sat down and wrote out and really gotten a clear vision for what you want your life to look like? Don't just think it. I will tell you from experience that there'll be moments that I'm out in the desert when I'm hiking and I'll have these incredible thoughts and it seems like the creativity just flows and I'll think, "Oh, I'll remember that when I get home and I'll write it down then." And I won't think of it when I get home. And guess what? I've lost the creative idea. So don't just think it, write it down every day of your life. When you have those wonderful creative moments, when those thoughts are just freely flowing and it's like a just the spring of ideas coming forth. Write it down because you might need to come back and revisit that later and trigger you into the vision for your life, the vision for your business, the vision for your ministry, or the vision for even your family. Does your family have a vision? Husbands and wives, have you taken the time to write down an active vision for your family, your life, where you're headed, what you want to see happen in the next 2 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years, when you want to retire, all of those things? Writing it down is a powerful tool to get it out of your mind onto paper so that you can develop a plan and actionable steps for getting those things in life that you really want. So that's the 6 disciplines for self-leadership, and they will help to ignite change and sustain transformation in your life. If you want a copy of this document, again, do me a favor, send your email address into the chat. All you have to do if you're watching this in our My Daily Bread mobile app, at the top of the mobile app, you're going to see these lines, and you just click on those lines and it will give the ability to send a chat. Send your email address and I'll get this document to you right away. Thank you for watching today. I hope you have a blessed day. We'll see you next week for My Daily Bread, the podcast.